sales and revenue a byproduct of a series of systems. And so the sales are going to take care of themselves if the systems are being supported, trained, held accountable. They are going to take care of themselves. That doesn't mean I don't care about revenue. I care about margin more than I care about revenue. The old phrase, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and it's reality.
Welcome to the Roofing Success Podcast. I'm Jim Aline, and I'm here to bring you insights from top leaders in the roofing industry to help you grow and scale your roofing business.
Jacob Vanhorn with Birdcreek Roofing. Welcome back, man.
Thanks, Jim. So good to see you again today.
I've been chasing you for at least 6 months now, trying to get you back on the podcast. We always have fantastic conversations every time I see you. And I'm like, we got to do this on camera, man. We got to do this on camera. I love your perspective on things. You guys have had some, phenomenal growth and built through phenomenal challenges and done it all, done a lot, right? You've solved problems and had problems and been through the cycle
and created
created a few, right? Like we always got to create a few, right? We always got to create a few. So just a quick refresh for people that may not have listened to the other episode. What's been the journey of Birdcreek Roofing?
Yeah, so Birdcreek Roofing started June of 2013. Nate Navarro was the founder. He was a former worship pastor, was let go for financial purposes, and was just trying to find work. Applied at a brick company, got denied, Acme Brick in Temple, Texas. They said no. So he called a buddy who worked for a roofing company and says, hey, about this roofing thing. That guy called his boss and he said, well, there's probably no work in Belton Temple, but you can try. And so Nate got a business card, a polo, and a hat and started knocking doors and building relationships and ended up building a roofing company out of it. He'll tell you he put his first roof on without knowing how to unfold the ladder. And he was scared of heights. There's actually a photo of him stuck on a roof because he put an A-frame ladder up against the roof. And you know what they say, if you're afraid going up, you're going to be terrified going down. And so he just was really humble and just began selling roofs to take care of his family. Managed to hire a longtime OG in the area, David Gilmeister, who was exceptional in helping him gain credibility. And then a little bit of storm help came, and then a lot of roofs came, and a lot of opportunity came. And he pulled over on the side of the road one day, and he just felt the leading to give this opportunity away to 10 other people. And so that was his vision, was to give it away. And so he began to build the company out. I joined him in April of 2017. They had just done about $9 million at the year prior. And I was just a sales guy converting from my prior career. About a year and a half later, I became a team lead, one of the top performing sales guys. Gave a talk at one of our events that an EOS, Gino Wickman consultant was at. And it was on processes and systems. And that guy told Nate, if you run your company like Jacob runs it, you'll make a lot of money. If you run it like all the other guys, not so much. Fast forward about 7 months later, Nate asked me to be the COO and run the company for him. And I said, I love you. You're amazing. You're great, but you can't pay me enough. I make a lot of money. And so he said, how about part of the company? I asked him what that meant. And we talked through the profit distributions, and it was not as rosy as you would have liked to see. So it's like, oh, so you're giving me liability. And, I bet on myself that we could turn that around. And 2 years later, we were distributing 94% of profit, where prior had been barely more than taxable liability. And we went from, over that time, from 27 million back down to 24 million in a reorg, and then 28, and then 50.2, and then last year around 30. That 50.2 was a huge help in Belton Temple. But we've had at least 2 years where we literally doubled in revenue, one from 15, not quite literal, but one from 15 to 28, and then one from 24 to 50.2. And those put certain stressors, those storms, reveal things to you about the processes and the systems you have. And sometimes you make it through a year like that by the skin of your teeth. And then there's years that are down and you learn new things.
Yeah. And that was one of the things you told me one time. And it was something to the effect of storms press your process and non-storm kind of press on your personnel. Right. And that hit me because, boy, I've seen I've seen companies find fantastic success really fast, or what looks like fantastic success really fast when the storm comes through and they got boots on the ground and everyone's signing the paperwork and they're moving. Um, and a lot of times those roofs don't get built. And like they're like the amount sold does not equal the amount built. And there's a lot of problems that occur in there. Let's start talking about that, how storms press process and how to create or iterate on your process during that time.
Yeah, it's completely a good question. I mean, when a storm happens, you might have a process, you might have a system that's good for a certain to pressure test a certain environment. But when that storm comes, that is genuinely pressed in a very different manner. For instance, when that went from 28 million to 50 million, we could have panicked, brought in every crew from every place we could get them, and tried to put every roof on it immediately at the same time or relatively quickly. We recognize the pressure that would put on our operations staff, our ability to collect money, our ability to close jobs properly, our ability to handle the warranties from crews we've never met before. That the warranties are a long tail profit suck that most folks don't think about in a storm environment. They just collect the money what they can and kind of get out of Dodge. So we ended up limiting. We had a crew boss that would run 12 crews for us, and so we ran 12 crews, and we were doing 65, 70 roofs per week, and we were 12 weeks out. Sorry, we were running 8 crews, and we were 12 weeks out on the schedule. That created some challenges around the selling when you tell a homeowner you're that far out. We saw that pretty quickly, so we began messaging, hey, so-and-so said they can put their roof on next week. Why do you think that is? Why do you think they can? In this environment, what do you think they're doing that they can? What are they cutting? What process are they changing? Where did they get that crew from? Why aren't they busier? Why aren't you busier at this time if you're that good? This should be some warning signs. So I like to ask questions when some of the objections come up. It's just, hey, that guy's lower than you. Yeah, I totally believe that. Why do you think he is? I don't need to tell you. I don't need to get defensive about it. I can help you do it. So the storm reveals the process and the system, whether it's the series of baton hands off from the sales process to operations to production to finance and accounting to get paid to warranty. All these batons get handed off throughout that. In that storm will reveal the limitations of the process of the system. For us, we just had to get ahead. I'm better than the average bear when it comes to primary, secondary, and tertiary thinking. I can see a little further down the road, if this, then that. And I don't say that as a prideful, humble brag thing. It took me a long time to recognize that was how my mind works, and I needed to not try and neuter it. I needed to lean into it and just let it fly. I once had a pastor of mine ask me, Jacob, when you walk into a room, do you know everything you'd change? I said, yeah, pretty quick. He goes, okay. We need to figure out if that's arrogance or your gifts trying to get out. And I had to kind of recognize through that. And so we would spend intentional time asking, if we do this cadence, it's scheduled, this sales process, what is going to happen, what is going to break? And you've just got to ask those questions. If all you think about is how much money can I make? If you think you're in that money pit game where they put you in the glass tube and they fly money around and you're like, grab as much as you can, everything like that, gobs of money's flying out. If that's what you're thinking about as a contractor in that moment, you were literally only thinking about that storm in that moment. You are not thinking about how are you going to eat next year? How are you going to eat next year when homeowners are telling everybody that you sucked at your job, that you put on a roof that's leaking, that you didn't fulfill your promises, you took some money and disappeared. How are you going to put on stuff next year? The storm isn't always coming next year. So you've got to have the stability, the reputation to withstand that storm. So the second half of that, did you want me to talk about the second half of that around personnel?
I want to dig into a couple of things
there, yeah.
first on this side, and then we'll get to the personnel side, because I think these are two very fantastic things. So in that storm, when all of that money is sitting in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, my goodness, we could do so much. We could sell so much. What metrics are you watching on the inside of your company? what are you projecting, right? We're always, a lot of times we're projecting revenue. We don't do projections on process, right? We don't do projections. I heard that in you. You're like, let's pressure test this in-house. Like, what
Yes.
happens if? Let's sit down with the team and say, what happens if you had 10 jobs come across your desk today, right? Like, would you, as a job site supervisor, be able to manage that? Would you, as a production manager, be able to handle that? Would we be able to order properly, schedule properly? Would we have enough dumpsters to get ordered? Would we, like, how are we, like, there's so many things that go along with, here's 100 roofs right now, right? What are the things that you are looking at, or would hopefully look at and say, okay, we have this huge opportunity right in front of us. We have the ability to go out and sign 100 contracts today. How do I look at my operations and say, this is where I feel it's weak? What metrics would you look at? What would you look at it from a team capacity standpoint? How would you look at those things?
Yeah. It's going to be anti what some people are going to think. They're thinking about revenue. They're thinking about sales. The reality is sales and revenue are a byproduct of a series of systems. And so the sales are going to take care of themselves if the systems are being supported, trained, held accountable. They are going to take care of themselves. That doesn't mean I don't care about revenue. I care about margin more than I care about revenue. The old phrase, revenue is
Yep.
vanity, profit is sanity, and
Sanity. Yep.
flow is reality. So those are all byproduct. And it's the same thing for a sales guy. Like, his sales for the year, his revenue cannot be leading the conversation. The behaviors and habits on a weekly, daily basis have to lead the conversation. So for us, when we hire somebody, I promise I'm getting through this. When we hire somebody, one of the things we do in the hiring process is, what do you want to earn? You want to work 120K? Okay, great. Let's do it. Let's do a stretch goal, 150K. To do 150K at our average house contract at 19,758, and our average profit margin, you would need to sell X number of roofs. To sell X number of roofs, you've got to be able to have X number of leads, X number of estimates, X number of demos, X number of leads, X number of door knocks, X number of referral conversation, whatever it might be. And we break it down into a week and say, to do this, you have to knock 100 doors, have 5 conversations with a realtor, whatever the behavior is. These are the behaviors you got to do. Then you got to ask the guy, do you think you can do that? If they say yes, talk me through it. Now, I'll usually do like a 1 out of 10. Do you think you can? If they say 8 or below, we're going to break it down a little bit where they're confused. They say 9, great, awesome. If they say 10, they may not have heard of what I said at all because they don't know what I talked to them about. So I'm breaking down all of these end results into component pieces. I'm thinking through lead generation. Now, in a storm environment, we tarped like 600 roofs in the first week of the storm in Bell County. We were born in Belton Temple in June of 2013. By the time that event happened in 2024, we had already done over 20,000 roofs and homeowners in Central Texas. Our name and number, we were on the Daily Temple Telegram Roofer of the Year, multiple years in a row. And so I jokingly called us the largest roofing company you've never heard of, which I know is against the whole, some vernacular here in the room. But what I mean by never heard of is, you didn't see a bunch of trucks, you didn't see a bunch of commercials, you didn't see a bunch of marketing, you didn't see a bunch of that, but your neighbor told you, your insurance agent told you, your realtor told you, somebody told you about us, and the phone just rings, and it just rang. The first problems we had were around answering phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think about the storm, it's the first problem you're going to have. It's answering phone calls, tarping roofs, getting enough underlayment to get out there to serve the homeowner. We can't do contingency contracts in the state of Texas. So how do you kind of anchor the homeowner while you're serving them with a tarp with the hope that you're going to get the roof? And the reality is you're tarping everybody, and 10 guys not serving the homeowner have knocked on their door since you first knocked it.
Mm-hmm.
We genuinely believe our external mission is helping Texas homeowners. We genuinely believe that helping Texas homeowners is the pathway towards the credibility and sustainability that we need as a company that survives years where there are no storms. We have a thing we call the birdies. We're Birdcreek Roofing. We call them the birdies. It's like the Dundies or something like that, And it is not about sales. It is about, do you demonstrate the values or mission of Birdcreek Roofing? Helping Texas homeowners, generous, optimistic, driven, changing lives, creating opportunities for other people to succeed. And we gave a guy an award for helping Texas homeowners who, and this would make a lot of roofing owners they'd probably fire the guy, maybe, I don't know. We gave it to him for raking leaves. He had an older homeowner couple. They're out in their yard. You know what a storm does with the trees and the limbs. It just drops everywhere. This guy was maybe not the best sales guy, but he was an incredible human being. And he was raking leaves with this couple. You think people walking by hired him? Yeah. Do you think that couple went on the Facebook neighborhood group while everyone else is I got been knocked 20 times. I get with you guys out of here. And then somebody goes on a Facebook group and goes, there's an angel in the storm and he is here to serve us. Everybody give him business. And so I think in the storm environment, one of the best system checks is, are you going to stay true to your values? Are you going to stay true to your values? Because the challenge can be is to not. I think I said this on our last interview. If not, it was another one. Your values should risk money. Your values should risk something. And if it doesn't, they aren't. Go ahead.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah. I mean, in that particular moment.
What does that mean? What does that mean to you? Like, your values should risk money.
Yeah, there are going to be times that we're going to make decisions that's in the best interest of the homeowner or the best interest of the community that don't necessarily put money in our pocket, or in some cases, they take money out of our pocket. If you put on 50 million, if you put on 10 million in roofs, you can't be everywhere. You can't be on every job site. You can't be watching everything. You're relying on other people, salespeople, subcontractors, a whole host of things to get work put on. Some of it's not going to go right. Do you hide behind your terms and conditions on the back of your contract that say you're not liable? Do you hide behind that and push off responsibility? Or do you say, somebody didn't do their job. You hired me to do a job. Somebody that I trusted didn't do that job. We're going to take care of that for you. We're going to make you whole. I'll just be on. I had a homeowner in Austin. They bought a roof from us. It was great. It was awesome. During the install process, there was a sheet of plywood that needed to be replaced. They pulled it off to replace it. Turned out it was Tech Shield. The project manager goes to get some Tech Shield and they find out there is none. And the guy over the job goes, "Oh, just buy the regular one. We'll put it on." Nobody knows this, but it's happening. Homeowners up in their attic doing a post inspect, and they see this, and they see this, and they see this, and it starts looking around. And then because we have done this behavior that has placed this small amount of distrust in the homeowner, it cascaded into a series of complaints and concerns. And you didn't this, you didn't that, you didn't that. I tore off that entire roof system and gutters and put on an entire new roof system and gutters. That was probably like a $32,000 job. It was not cheap. There were things like, you'll have those moments where you're with a homeowner and they say, "Hey, you damaged this screen." And you're like, "Well, I actually have these photos before that show it was already damaged. I don't care. I know my house. You damaged my screen." What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And some folks will say, principle, principle, principle. Well, principles are in competition with one another. Principles of like, what's right, what's wrong, what's just, what's efficient, what's sustainable, what's charitable. Like, principles are in competition with one another. And the question is, which principle is going to win? And quite often the principle that wins is the one that you have selected to have win and hold to, because it doesn't harm you in a way that you don't want to have. You've got to be okay to be uncomfortable if you're going to have mission and values be your North Star. And that's just that one scenario right there. They've got to sustain you. And I really do believe your staff are watching that happens. It's like they say, if you see somebody, if somebody is gossiping to you about somebody else, they are gossiping about you to somebody else. Like they just are. So if I'm treating homeowners poorly, I'm probably going to treat staff poorly. Staff pick up on that. Then there are staff who have integrity who are like, "I can't work here anymore because this place is going against my integrity." Do you want people to work for you with integrity? Yes. Otherwise, they're taking bundles and putting them in the trash. They're doing side contracts. So if you don't lead with integrity, your people will pick up on that and leave, and you have what you built. So that's what I mean there is your value should cost you some money, because there's a different principle that's far more important than that dollar.
Yeah.
This is a great industry. It welcomes
Fantastic. Yeah.
anybody and everybody. Former pastors, ex-cons, some of them are former pastors and ex-cons.
That's right.
Welcomes everybody. If you come in, do it well, do it right, do it with integrity, and you work hard, it will give you more than, we have a phrase that we say, part-time job is less than part-time income in roofing, because it's so hard. You don't get enough repetitions to get good at it. But if you treat it like a full-time job, it will give you more than full-time pay. It just will. So anyway.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah.
So we have the things that we're looking for in terms of, if we look through the lens of integrity, this is what I'm going to summarize on this in what we're looking at during these storms. If we're looking through the lens of our integrity and making sure that we're saying honestly, can we do this? Can we not do this? Can we, sitting with the team, breaking down the things that make up their role, the activities that make up their role. Like a salesperson has these activities that make up a role. You're looking at your production team and looking at the things that make up their role, and then asking them honestly, hey, if we have this, from especially on the on the sales side, there's a lot more yeses on the sales side. Salespeople like to have belief in themselves. Operations people don't have that belief a lot of times, right? They're like, we don't know if we can do all of that.
Mm-hmm.
What are you watching on that side? What are the steps that go into that production process that you're thinking of, just like in the sales process,
Mm-hmm.
that you're measuring that capacity in?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a kind of like a bend, don't break kind of scenario. We were in a unique position where we had a former operations manager who had moved to Georgia and gone to work there and everything like that. And when this storm hit, I said to myself, I need someone to step in. And it has to be somebody who can step in and hit the ground running. I don't have 6 months to train him. I need someone who can step in. So I reached out to him. We had a series of conversations and we brought him in remotely to run some things. That was a gift for us because he's an exceptional, his name is Tyler Beal. If you go recruit him, he will not leave you. He has told me you're going to have to use a crowbar to get him away from Birdcreek Roofing. He is an exceptional human being. I want to give him his flowers and his reputation. He is an exceptional human being. He lets me sleep at night. Tyler does. We had to ask ourselves, I've heard some folks say this in the past, like you think of operations as a kind of a building block. How many salespeople, how much revenue, how many team leads, how many production, how many crews. And so you kind of have to ask that question. And you have to do your best to answer it in the moment. But you also have to recognize that everything is just a right now answer. Right now, this is what we can do. Because in a month, the situation on the ground, context and people are always shifting and changing. And so the best you can do is say, hey, this is our plan. We're going to do this unless some data comes in that changes that. And so we did that for a while. We hired a third-party supplement company to help with the shock absorber thing. We have an in-house supplement writer. She was handling like 130, 140 files at a time. But if you're installing 65 roofs a week in a month, that's 240 plus. And we know that those jobs don't just last a month, those supplement files. And so there could be, 400 or 500 you're working simultaneously. So we hired a third party supplement company. And so I guess I would say this, it's, look at the size look at who you have, look at the assets you have, and then ask, what are you going to need? Where are the parts that are going to break? For us, we said supplementing, production management, side work. So we had a side work coordinator that was helping with a long tail of that. And then we made sure that we were going to be collecting money. That required us to make sure that we got with consultants because they're the first collector of the money. They're the collector of that ACB check. They're the collector of that deductible check the morning of the install. So we first had to make sure that they knew this is a cash flow game. You need to hold to your systems and processes. You still got to collect. You still got to bring it in. You still have to do this thing. So that's that first half of that. And then the back end, we'd make sure that through that through our own compliance deal.
Yeah.
We hired somebody whose only job was to call insurance companies and say, "Where's my money?" They weren't arguing about supplements. They weren't debating things. They were just, "Where's my money? Where's my money? Where's my money?" And we know it's the homeowner's money, but where is it? Release it so we can collect it.
Yes.
Deal. And so just look at the different parts of it that are going, you think you're going to break, and then bring in staffing, short-term staffing for it, if that's what you need to do. And then you're going to find new things a month later that broke that you just didn't know they were going to break. And
Always.
don't think to yourself like, "Oh, I was wrong." No. There's this Teddy Roosevelt quote that I love. Do what you can with what you have with where you are. That's it. Do what you can with what you have with where you are. And if 6 months you realize that that was not the right deal, it didn't go the way you wanted it to, did you do what you could with what you had with where you were? Yes? Then go to sleep at night and rest well. Don't look back with new knowledge and blame the guy who didn't know about it back then. So be kind to yourself in this. It's going to be hard. Be kind to yourself. One of the difficulties we had that which required the shift in some of the positioning of the delay. You got sales. So you have a company trying to build revenue. You have a company trying to have cash flow. You have a company trying to do things financially well. But then you have salespeople who are individual components of that are like, "I didn't get that deal because we can't put the roof on for 12 weeks. You guys created this scenario. Why can't we put it on sooner?" You don't just have to manage the homeowner. You've got to manage the sales consultant. You've got to have the conversation around some jobs. We're just not going to win every one of them. Some homeowners are going to not be amenable to discussion around why a shorter timeline is. But then also at the same time, we use the know, like, and trust framework. Where did you lose know, like, and trust with that homeowner? Somewhere. I don't care if you're a higher price than the other person. If you establish value, establish know, like, and trust, and they trust you to pay the higher price because of the product, because of the warranty, because of the communication, then they'll do it. So if you didn't get the deal, somewhere, know, like, and trust did not come to the fulfillment. Even if, so they'll be constantly, "That guy beat my price. He's a lazy salesman. He waived the deductible. That sucks." Did you preset the homeowner around what's going to happen if someone offers to do that? What they're going to have to do to be able to accomplish that? The financial insecurity of that company that won't be around for the warranty. Now we realize that some homeowner, I had one homeowner tell me one time, he goes, "Jacob, I like you. You're awesome." He goes, "I don't $2,000 like you." You know what?
That's right.
Fair enough. In that scenario, you had another roofer who hand measured because of tree cover, and I hand measured as well. I told that homeowner, I said, "That guy he undermeasured your roof." And he goes, and I said, "Go back to him and make sure, did you measure the roof? Is the price right?" So he went back to that roofer. "My other roofer says such and such." And the guy goes, "Nope, it's right. It's it." He goes, "Okay, I'm not paying anymore." Roof gets put on. Roofer realizes he made a mistake, asks the homeowner for more money, and the homeowner's, fly kite. Then he calls me and he goes, "Jacob, you called it." Did exactly what you said. And I was like, I don't know, call him Jeff. "Well, congratulations, Jeff. You got a good roof for $2,000 less." And I knew the company, they were a reputable company. So I knew they put a good roof on. Just a sales guy didn't measure it right. So anyway, you're not always going to win them. So
you're not always going to win them.
No.
I think that there's a lot to learn there. And really what it sounds like it became in a way is the who, not how, right? We know how to do supplementing. We know how to sell. We know how to run our scheduling and our collections, and we know how to do this. But we added some who's.
Yeah, you have to.
Right? Whether it was outsourced who or internal hire who's.
Yeah, you absolutely had to. But then we also had to recognize that operations staff that are on a fixed salary and they're putting in extra time, you better put them in the money. It may not be part of their agreement. It may not be part of their offer letter. Maybe not be part of any of that. Put them in the money. Find a way to honor them. Find a way to say thank you. Put them in the money because they work there.
Awesome.
They work very hard for you.
Yep. So now on the other side we have the who's again, and in in a slower year, in a non-storm year, in an economic downturn, if you're in a full retail market, which I feel a lot of companies have been feeling, of what I've been hearing over the last year and a half. In 2015 was like, wait, is this really happening? And then in 2016, I think some people are coming to the conclusion that, yeah, this is not happening. Either we haven't had storms in our market, or we had a lot of storms and now all the roofs have been built. And now there's no, the retail side is very slow because we had such high storm activity in some of the hurricane markets and things like that down in Florida. And
Before we carry on with the episode, let's give a shout out to one of our sponsors.
Roofers, let's get real. You're great at building roofs, but are you great at building a steady stream of leads? That's where Job Nimbus Marketing comes in. They know the roofing industry inside and out, and they'll help you dominate Google, Facebook, reputation management, and everything in between. If you want more quality leads, more booked jobs, and more growth, visit the link in the description or the sponsors page on the Roofing Success Podcast website. I talk to contractors every day that feel stuck. Not because they're not working hard, but because they're missing the structure to growth without chaos. Or their culture's falling apart because their team's unclear, unaligned, or just burned out. And when change hits, they're reacting instead of leading because time and priorities aren't under their control. Day 41 Thrive helps to fix that with proven strategies for growth, culture, and leadership that actually work. Ready to thrive beyond the storm? Visit the link in the description or visit the Roofing Success Podcast website on the sponsors page to start your journey today.
we had such high storm activity in some of the hurricane markets and things like that down in Florida. And,
Sure.
and so now it's the other side of that, right? So the storms press on your process. The non-storm or the slower years press on your personnel.
Yeah,
Explain that thought.
absolutely. Yeah. And so you touched on those three variables that kind of push or depress sales and market. Insurance carriers increasing deductibles, 2, 3, 4, 5% deductibles. You're in a $900,000 house with a 3% deductible. It is what it is. Roof payment schedules. Now FHA has stated that you can have an ICB policy on a mortgage now, which is going to reduce payouts. And so the days of having $500, $1,000, $2,000 deductibles are gone. Homeowners could make a decision to replace a roof for $1,500, $2,000. Much easier back then. They are not making those decisions. They are waiting. They're passing over storms. Well, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. They're waiting over storms. They're doing that. And also the insurance companies are just saying no more often, flat out. Not just the lower deductible. The higher deductibles. They're just saying no more. They are dog fights. Economics. We are 6 years in from COVID and inflation and economic strain. I think homeowners have run out of their HELOC money. I think that credit has dried up. I think disposable income has dropped some. I know it's roofing in my market is, if you're in Missouri right now, it's going great. If you're in certain parts of the country where they've had storms, it's going great. But money's tighter right now. People are holding on to it more. Those two things, and you mentioned housing stock and storms. In 2024, that May of 24 storm easily took 35% of the market in Bell County, and that was our home place. And, a 3-inch storm is going to come and do some damage there, but the normal 1.5ers that you get that you can usually sell on 2-year-old roof, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Plus, the homeowner now has a $7,000 deductible, probably. So, good deal.
Yep.
So all those things are very real. And in the past, so I described it to some friends recently like this. 10 years ago in roofing, showing up was enough. You just had to show up. I remember when I first started this in 2017, how many homeowners would say, I've had 2 roofers here, 3 roofers here, and they still haven't sent me the estimate. They still haven't done this. They haven't done that. We signed the contract. They haven't been in contact with us. 7, 10 years ago. 3, 4, 5 years ago, it was you had to show up, but you had to have it together. Good contract, good presentation. You had to have a company cam and sumo quote. You had the thing looking sharp, and a good booklet. Everything had to be tight and good. You have a GBP profile. Things are good, and you had a good shot at getting the job. Everything is a dogfight right now. Everything is a dogfight. Every lead is a dogfight. Every damaged roof. Homeowners are calling more than one roofer now than they ever have before. Roofers are knocking roofer signs more than they have before. Assume that someone's going to be coming behind you to try and undercut you or malign you. Just assume it. So if leads are going to be harder to get, then we need to make sure that we figure out how to hold on to them better. And if leads are going to be in short supply and we learn how to hold on to them better, we need to learn how to upgrade, upsell the job, how to protect margin. A lot of roofing companies are selling at very low margins just to keep people working. I get it, but no, it's a recipe for long-term disaster. You're literally going to Vegas and rolling, hoping that you get a storm that saves your butt. And even then, you're going to have a lot of failed promises along the way. So it's a dogfight. You got to figure out how to do these things. And what you find is if you recruited and trained a lot of people in storm environments, they know how to sell storm. They know how to sell when the urgency is present. They don't know how to create urgency. They don't know the customer comes to them or they knock on the door, your Birdcreek Roofing, great, awesome, wonderful. So you got to figure out a way to sell when it's hard. Anybody can sell when it's easy. You got to figure out how to sell when it's hard, which means that you're going to find personnel with certain personality types. They're more compliant. They're more agreeable. They're less confrontational. They are generous, optimistic, but maybe they're not driven. We do these surveys on a regular basis within our company. And some of the complaints, this is actually, forget our company, this is every company. More leads, more leads, more leads. I always want more leads. Birdcreek has never been a company lead generated company. We catch some, we get them, but we've always been a self-generated lead company, which is why we pay a higher commission rate than most everybody else will. We believe in hiring entrepreneurs that go out for that. And we get that at the highest level. But I've got, 9 team leads and 35, 37 sales guys. Some of those team leads are newer, so the teams are just 2 people below them. You find a distribution of talent across 45 people that is not equal. There's certain folks that are always going to sell, plus the guys that have been there for 4 years, the pipeline, the phone keeps ringing. But then you have guys that learn how to sell in the storm, they don't know how. We recently brought in a new VP of sales who has spent the last 10 years helping roofing companies turn around their sales divisions. We invested in that because we knew that we need to change the approach. So as a company owner, what you can tend to do, kick, scream, yell, encourage, whatever it is, but you have to give them a different tool. Most of these roofing company owners that grew up in the heyday of the storm years, they only know how to sell on the storm. They don't know how to sell when it's slow. So we brought in somebody who knew how to do it. And we are rebuilding our entire sales process around showing rather than telling. We're building it around building urgency. We're building it around differentiating yourself from the other competitors in the marketplace. They're going to knock on their door or go to their house, whatever it is. We are building it around a roof system that is responding to the marketplace conditions where homeowners can't keep replacing their roof every 4, 5, 6 years when the deductibles go high. So how do you buy a roof that's going to last you 20 years because it's an impact-resistant roof? Now, some folks will think, we'll just offer them an impact-resistant roof. You need a sales system around demonstrating the value of why they should buy that extra roof and pay that extra money. Because you're not going to be asking them to pay their deductible. You're going to be asking them to pay over and above that to be able to afford this roof if you want to protect your margins. So it requires a more sophisticated salesperson to have a financial conversation about why this is actually a good value for them. But prior to that, you have to have a proper rapport building conversation where how long have you been in the house? How old are your kids? How long do you plan to be here? If I sell you a 20-year roof and your kids are 17 and 16 and they're leaving to college and you're an empty nester in 3 years, if you don't know the answer to that before you present the offer, you're a poor salesman. You haven't done the report. Every time I would inspect a roof, I would always ask a homeowner, hey, I'm going to walk around your property. I'm going to take a look. I know what I'm looking for, but you know this property. You live here. You'll be able to point out things that I may not see. Can we go for a walk? I don't need them to walk around the property with me. I can spot damage. I need to spend 5 minutes with them extra, asking about their kids, their dog, their lives, what's going on. I'm building rapport. I'm establishing know, like, and trust. And I'm understanding, and I'm asking just a series of subtle questions to determine how long they're going to be here. What are their goals in the home? And I'm going to ask them also, anything else in your home system performing, underperforming? Do you have hot rooms? Do you have cold rooms? Do you, does your AC run 18 hours a day? I'm looking at trees to see where tree rub is. I'm looking at animal entries and intrusions. I'm looking for other ways to serve the homeowner beyond with what I can do. And so you've got to get more sophisticated at it. We're also currently right now looking at how do we start selling better some of the upgraded, the Bravas, the tiles, standing seams, and we do standing seam and we do it all the time, but how do we position that in the sales framework? And so, we're going to build out basically what's the dream roof? What's the dream roof? And then if that's not what you need, then how do we kind of down cycle from that to get to the next level roof? At the end of that, okay, the basic roof, what you have already. We'll do that. We'll do that too. So in that personnel assessment, you have to remind them of accountability on a weekly basis. You have to, because if they say I want to make $120,000 a year and they've made $10,000 in the Q1, they are not on track to do that. We generally say you're going to make 20% of your income in Q1, 20% in Q4, 30 in Q2, 30 in Q3, barring a major event that changes that cycle. So all I need is 1 to 2 to 3 months to say you're on track or you're not on track. You're doing the behaviors, you're not doing the behaviors. I really only need the first few weeks of the year to know if you're going to do them. Which means you're also going to have to recruit better. You're going to have to train better at the very beginning of it. It can't just be knock on the door, sign a contingency, and we'll teach you from there. You've got to learn how to pre-sell at the door. You've got to learn how to anchor a client. You've got to learn how to bump out the guys that are going to be coming behind you. Hey, somebody else might come in and say such and such and such and such. When they say such and such and such and such, what they mean is really this. Hey, if they say this, ask them this. You got to prepare your homeowner for the onslaught that's coming behind you. So you can't just say, go knock a door, sign a contingency, and we'll show you from there. Training has to be better and upfront. You need to hire around that. And the reality is that nobody likes is some people aren't going to stay with you. They just aren't. We used to want to retain everybody. We used to feel like we had the best opportunity for them to be successful. But we can't be everything for everybody. It has broken my heart, a number of people, sales guys who have left, because I've just said, if you would just do this thing, just this thing, I can't want it more than you. But if you could do this thing, your whole world would change. And they can't do it. And we've built automations and systems and check-ins and accountability. I mean, we built all those things into it. But at the end of the day, I'm not in the truck with you. You're on your own. They say the hardest door to open is your car door. It's not the front door of the homeowner, it's your car door. In addition to that, I think that companies going from insurance to retail are going to have to reconsider their compensation models a little bit. How do you drive certain behaviors and incentives? How do you Walter Munger was the number 2 for Warren Buffett. He said, show me your incentives, I'll show you your outcome. And so we need to ask, how are retail compensation models aiming to drive the behavior we want from the consultant? How is it, for instance, maybe you pay more as a percentage of profit or more of top line revenue on the upgrade than you do on the base house roof. Maybe if you're paying, I'm not going to tell you my numbers, but maybe if you're paying 9% for the roof, maybe you pay 11% on upgrades. Maybe you reconsider how your income, how your commission structure drives behavior. We're talking about it. We're asking those questions every day. So it reveals the personnel, and we tend to think it reveals the personnel in the sales seat, but let's be honest, it reveals the personnel in the C-suite also. It reveals my sales leader. It reveals my operations leader. We can't just talk about it how it reveals everybody below us. And so we have to get better at our craft. So it reveals my failures. It reveals I short-sighted. It reveals how I saw a thing coming. I saw it. I looked at it. I stared at it. And I went, Well, the last 7 years, I've felt that also, and the storm came. And so you kind of hold on a little longer until you find yourself on the back of your heels going, oh, it didn't happen. I should have acted sooner. Well, possibly the previous 7 years, if I'd acted sooner, I might have broken the storm, you know?
Yep.
And so, don't judge yourself too harshly for what you didn't know then. And so, but that being the case, I have felt like, as much as I said earlier, I can think ahead of things. I can't tell you what the weather's going to do. We were our supplier. We created local suppliers in Aspen in Central Texas, because like Arma has like what shingles are being shipped and things like that. But that's new home builds. That's people stocking up material down. When prices are lower, it's shingles getting to the house that are important. Down 47% on average. They're down 47% year over year. Huge,
Huge.
massive. We're not down 47%, so we're getting our share and then some, but we're down. We're definitely down. They're down. They're struggling. We got to figure out a way to, if leads are more scarce, we got to figure out a way to retain them better, sell them at a better margin, protect the margin, don't give it away, and then fulfill the promise that we made when we sold them the roof. So
I think that there is such a, and you kind of alluded to it earlier. There's such a strong force that shifts towards, let's just keep everyone employed versus let's protect the margin. There's a big difference there. Like, that is a big difference. What do you think? What is the risk of keeping everyone employed versus protecting the margin?
Okay, good question. Keeping the risk of keeping people employed really depends on the compensation structure you have to survive a downtime. If you've got a series of base salaries and trucks and fixed costs with low revenue dropping, you're going to have major issues there. If you have a GP gross profit model where they drive their own truck and they have their own expenses, whatever it might be, the risk is lower there. And the risk there becomes, if I let that guy walk out the door and a storm comes, I'm saying goodbye to $1 million in revenue. That guy, if there's a storm, that guy's going to do 1.2, 1.5 because he's done it every time. So there's a risk about letting that guy walk out the door. But also, if you're in a down market and that guy will not get on board with your systems, your processes, your structures, if he will not do the work to learn how to sell in the down market and he's got enough money from the past to just ride it out, he's doing violence to your culture. He's doing damage to the culture. And so that's a risk you've got to factor in. If I let Timmy just keep doing whatever he's wanting to, and I tell all the other guys they've got to do this, they're going, what about Timmy? And I get to have that conversation. But you know what I have to do now? Have 40 conversations with each one of the people that feel unique and special about it. I don't get to just tell the room once. It's not compelling. It's not personal. You've got to have it a bunch of times. So you got to balance that risk. So money might walk out the door. Money might walk out the door because of your compensation model. You've got too much overhead tied to each guy. And folks don't think about even your tech stack. There's some of us that got $300-$400 per user tech stacks. That isn't a lot. Added up times 10 people that are underselling. That's a lot. I forgot who posted it the other day on Facebook, but he said 10% discount on a job isn't much, but over the year, it's a difference between 8% margin at the end of the year or 15% margin at the end of the year. Now, I didn't check his math, but I understood his sentiment in that. And so when we talk about protecting margins, we're talking about protecting the end of the year margin for the company. And we're talking about protecting the margin on each job. And protecting the margin on a job is the precursor to protecting it on the back. There's other factors, of course, that go into it, but that's the first deal. You're going to have sales guys that are going to be like, I'm dying, man. I got to sell this one at 28% because I got to get some money. It's $1,000. It's $1,000 I didn't have before. Salespeople get to sell that, make that, and walk away from it. You own the warranty. You own the liability. If you sell a bunch of jobs in the 20s, all I need is one homeowner to decide they're not going to give me that second half of the 50% deposit. And now I've got to go sell 5 jobs just to make up the loss on that one job, because the other jobs are such poor margin. The individual sales guys, they don't have the 30,000 foot view level that we have. So we've got to protect the margin. You've got to set margin floors. You've got to hold sustainable consistency in it. But then that means you got to train the guy to hold the margin. You don't just tell him to hold the margin. You have to train him how to hold the margin. When I was a little kid, I used to play baseball a lot, and I was a pitcher. And I remember I used to hear my dad from the bleachers a lot of times yell, "Throw strikes, son." And internally, I was like, "Yeah, Dad, I know." And I love my dad; he's great. But like, I know the aim, I know the goal. Tell me how to hold the ball. Tell me how to hold my hand. Tell me how to step through. Tell me how high to kick my leg. Tell me the velocity. Tell me all the components of throwing a strike. So you can't just tell your sales guy. You got to show him how. And sometimes you're going to have to go out in the market with him and knock that door and have him get with you in the truck. One of the best team leads I have today was by accident. I hired him to be a driver for me in 2021 because I was selling so many roofs. I just did not have time to drive. I wanted to sit in the passenger seat and work on contracts, call homeowners, call insurance, whatever it was. So I hired him to drive for me. He spent 3.5 months, 4 months driving for me. And he was every conversation, every meeting, every inspection, everything. And one day I realized, because he wouldn't stop talking in the truck, so I wasn't getting as much work as I wanted, because every time we'd leave a house, he'd be like, "Hey, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Why this? Why that?" And I realized, best use of you would be selling roofs for me and taking leads. It's not driving me because you're not doing it well. He became such a consistent performer because we didn't rush the training. We didn't rush the training because I didn't know I was training him. We didn't rush the training. I know that there are some recruiters, trainers that'll tell you, "Don't teach him this, don't teach him that, don't teach him that. Just teach him to knock the door, get the sale." Man, I get it. It's not all for me. And a difference, there are people who might listen to this who are going to be like, "Jacob doesn't know what he's talking about." That's okay. I have people who work for me who say Jacob doesn't know what he's talking about. It's okay. I sometimes say, I don't know what I'm talking about. If you hire quickly and you train quickly, you will not retain the long-term guy that you think that you want to have. The only way to sell long-term and to keep money coming in without having to dump tons of money into digital marketing and brand awareness is to build a system of guys and gals who are happy working for you, who develop a pipeline of happy customers. Because as much as you want that phone to ring for your company, it's ringing for Tim. It's ringing for John, because they don't know Birdcreek Roofing. They know the guy who was at their door, who took care of him, who played with their dog in the front yard, and who, gave him a gift card to go to dinner on their anniversary. That's the guy they know. So if you pay people well, you train them well, you support them well, and they are happy people, the revenue will keep coming. It just will. So everything can't be an emergency. So I'm just rolling on now.
That all makes perfect sense. And so one of the things that Birdcreek has done so fantastically is to build that referral pipeline and build the business around the people, right? Built their businesses within your business in a way, right? Built their pipeline, showed them how to build their pipeline through relationships, through referrals. What I hear a lot of contractors say, "Hey, referrals just happen naturally when we do good work." What do you want other owners and other people in the industry to understand about actually building a true referral pipeline?
Saying that referrals are something that just happens naturally by doing good work is like saying door knocking is just a numbers game. There's a whole host of things that change those numbers. There's a whole host of things that change the likelihood of success at the door, or the likelihood of building a referral network. It is, guys are going to hate, it's lazy thinking. It's lazy thinking. I'm sorry. Some things aren't more complex than they are, and some things are. The reality is I had a phrase I called "be braggable," which meant do your work in such a way that people want to talk about you. People will say integrity and work ethic and all those things. Those are all great, and those are things you can do. But I want a mindset, a framework that has a result. It isn't just integrity, but it's be braggable, which means I want you to brag about me. So it isn't just me doing good work. I might even have to give you the framework to brag about me. Very first thing if I come to a house, almost all my stuff's referrals. I'm going to say, hey, Jim, I'm so glad to meet you. So glad that Terry introduced us. We helped Terry with her house on this situation. Here's what we had going. We helped her out. I'm excited to be able to help you out. I can't wait to meet your friends and family who might need help at the end of this. I'm priming the referral. I'm not just saying, hey, thanks, Terry. I'm priming the referral. Referrals are normal. We give them. We do this. We love referrals. And if you're serving the right client, this is going to be a little bit not cynical, but sound a little utilitarian if you want to be. But if you're in a starter home neighborhood with a bunch of 3 tabs, and you say, I'll give you $200 for everybody you introduce me to that buys a roof, they will walk you up and down the street, introducing you to everybody in town. If you go to a large home in an upper middle class neighborhood, they do not want to monetize their referrals and relationships. They want to brag. They want to go on the HOA Facebook group and go, I found the best handyman. I'm so good at this. I found one. You should hire him too. Be like me. They will give you referrals because they want to brag about you. They want to share it about you. You just got to give them the tools to be able to do so. So we prime the referral in every relationship. And the next time I see you again, Jim, man, I am so glad that Terry introduced us. I've had such a great time meeting you, hearing about your career, your kids, your dog, your lifted Jeep. I've had such a great time doing this. You are such a cool guy. I bet you have cool friends. I can't wait to meet them. I just can't. I can't wait to meet them. I'm excited, man. But they need help. I'm there for them and give them the same care you gave. Every time I do a roof, I'm also going to walk the roof. I'm going to get on it. I'm going to look for areas that are prone for leaks in the future. Either leaks where we're fixing that day because there's some wood that's damaged, or I'm going to look for roof with the wall transitions. I'm going to look for drop to lowers where a gutter from a second story is dropping hard on a first story. I'm going to see that as a leak prone area. Almost every roof install has leak barrier waste. There's a half roll that the sales guy grabs, throws it in the back of his truck because he's going to use it someday, and it rides in the back of his truck long enough that it flattens out, becomes useless, because if you try and roll it out later, it's it's not going to work well. Put it on the roof. Put it on the roof. So it's not in the contract, but I'm going to tell the crew, put it around those penetrations, that leak, that roof to wall, that drop to lower. Hey, homeowner, I walked your roof. We've done this. We saw a few areas that might be some problems down the road. Not in the warranty period. They're actually, if there were problems, they'd happen, 10 years down the road. But we went ahead and we put some extra leak barrier in those areas. Don't worry, no problem, no extra charge. I just want to do the right thing for you for your roof so you don't have any issues down the road. Law of reciprocity says I'm giving you something that you kind of want to give me something back, but I'm not going to ask for money. I'm not going to take your money. I want your referral. I want you to tell people about me. So referrals aren't just a byproduct of doing good work. They're a byproduct of understanding how do you create the context where the homeowner understands it, sees it, values it, wants to share it. And those are like a few things of a much larger system that we teach guys in that regard. Do consultants do it perfectly? No, they never do. But if they do 20% of it, it's 20% more than they would have before. Just is. So I prime every relationship. I prime every conversation as a referral. It's normal. We're doing it. If I knock on your door and I see you have a lifted Jeep in the driveway, hey, I'm Jacob, Birdcreek Roofing. We've helped about 20,000 homeowners in the last 10 years. Here to look at your roof. But first, man, your Jeep. Tell me about it. If a guy's got a lifted Jeep, he wants to talk about it. That's why he has it. I have a lifted Jeep. I know this. We want to talk about it. We're happy to. Build those rapport, build those relationships, build those conversations. You are now a friend that the homeowners, I can't tell you how many people invited me over for beer and pool parties afterwards. And that happens. But so anyway, be braggable, do it in a way that they want to refer you. In my neighborhood that I worked really hard, there's a neighborhood in Austin. I won't tell you guys the neighborhood. I don't need you going to try in there, but 6,100 homes. Average household income is around $215,000, 95% owner occupied. Most of the homes are 35 squares and above, 8, 9, 10 pitch. Great neighborhood. It hasn't been hit by anything bigger than 0.75 inch hail in the last 10 years. Of those 6,100 homes, and I had a moment where I went, I can do 100 homes a year as a sales guy, and it would take me 61 years to do all these homes. A roof lasts 20 years, so I can do 300 a year and just keep repeating the cycle and do really, really well. So I decided I didn't need to be everywhere. I needed to be everywhere here. So if you're everywhere, if you're trying to be everywhere, you're nowhere. But I want to be everywhere in that small area. So I set out this deal. I said, I won't say the name of it. I'll call it Johnsonville. I want to be Johnsonville famous. And I literally said, I want every roofer in Johnsonville to be so demoralized that they can't sell a roof in Johnsonville that they move out. Fast forward, I'm on a bus on a GAF event, and there's a woman who's like, "Oh, you're Jacob Vanhorn?" And she goes, "Oh, Birdcreek Roofing." I said, "Yeah." Her husband leans over and says, and this company's been there for 50 years. He lives in this neighborhood, and he says, "Damn you, I can't put a roof on in my own neighborhood because of you." Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. That was my aim. We've done 677 of those 6,100 homes. Be braggable. Be everywhere in a small area. You don't have to be the king of Austin. Be the king of a neighborhood. I do this little trick. Sounds bad, whatever. When I see somebody ask for a roofer, this is a tip for all you. If somebody asks for a roofer, don't just give them a photocopy of your business card. Just say, call me. Why do people in dating have a wingman? Somebody needs to talk you up. Somebody needs to say good things about you. If you say, I'm the best in the business, nobody cares. But if somebody who lives there says Jacob's the best, they listen. So I have a little game. Sorry. I grab the 3 dots on the top right of the post, and I send that post to a few of my friends who live in the neighborhood, and I just say nice things about me. They say nice things about me, and then I follow up, Jim, you're so kind to say nice things about me. Tag the OP. Terry, I'd be glad to help you with your roof. We've done this. We've helped the community in this. We've sponsored the turkey trot. We rebuilt the elementary school dock. We're here in our community. We want to be here. Here's my direct phone number. Call or text anytime. It's not just a byproduct of doing good work. Doing good work is a prerequisite, but is an intentional process to be braggable. Let them know how good you are. I tell people, do what you said. Tell them what you're going to do what you said you were going to do, and then remind them you did the thing you said you were going to do. I have a thing we call the 5 R's of every inspection. Every inspection starts with a relationship, has a re-roof or repair in mind. Yes, of course, also you have a clean roof. We're not going to do anything, but if there's work being done, it's a re-roof or repair, and it ends with a review and a referral. I want the consultant thinking that way because I want him thinking at the beginning of the sales process that he's going to be asking for a review or a referral at the end of this. I want him thinking about it because he's not going to want to ask someone if he did a poor job. He's going to want to do a good job because he knows that's the byproduct of it. So 5 R's of every inspection. I have a thing called the referral flywheel. It's just a concept about how a flywheel builds capacity over time. It takes a lot of effort to build that capacity. But once it's built, when the triggering event happens, it spits off referral. Mm-hmm. And so it's all about building capacity inside the referral flywheel. I got about 9 others, but I'll keep those ones self.
That's right. For another time, we'll have you back on. I'll chase you down again to get the rest to continue to extract the knowledge in your head. I love it, man. Thank you for your time today. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into the Roofing Success Podcast. For more valuable content, visit roofingsuccesspodcast.com. While there, check out our sponsors for exclusive offers, shop for merchandise, and sign up for our newsletter for industry updates and tips. Also, join the Roofing Success Facebook group to connect with other professionals and stay updated on the latest trends. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. Your support helps us continue to bring you top industry insights. The website link is in the description. Thanks for listening.